What is going on out there, peeps? All right, so I hope everybody is being safe and everybody is avoiding the BS that's happening in these cities everywhere with all of this rioting. Okay, so just be safe and be careful and avoid it. All right, so real quickly in this video, I'm going to show you, I get to brag a little bit at the end of the video because I get to show you something that I told you guys about. And in addition to that, I'm going to quickly cover for you guys why I'm telling you the Vietnam dong is going to go up and it's going to increase. I'm going to show you again why. And in addition to that, why I'm right about Vietnam being a long-term investment as well. All right, so let's get into this stuff. But real quick, you guys, as you guys know, I have a Facebook group with the same name as the YouTube channel. Come join it. It's free. All right, I'll leave a link in the description for you people who like, conspiracy things. Come here, join here. It's a link for there as well. So, come and join. It's free. All right. So real quick, look at this. EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement, Vietnam's competitive games. So I told you guys that the EU and Vietnam went into a trade agreement that should be taking effect this coming up at summertime. This trade agreement between the EU and Vietnam just makes Vietnam that much more stronger. And it looks to increase the wages of people in Vietnam. And by doing so, it benefits and strengthens the economy, as also puts a strain on the manipulated value of the Vietnam dong. It's going to force them to have to do the increase here much sooner than later, you guys. So look at, on February the 12th, 2020, the European Parliament ratified the EU-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement and the EU-Vietnam Investment Protection Agreement. It is expected that the agreement will be ratified by Vietnam's government by this month here. I think it was already done. And will consequently enter into force. The agreement, which includes significant commitments on tariff reductions, investment protections, and trade facilitations, will have a tremendous impact on exporting firms, foreign investors, and consumers in Vietnam. Look, I'm noticing that, I'm telling you, Trump was a trendsetter when it came to renegotiating trade agreements. He's trying to do his best to keep all trade agreements free. And now you're starting to see that type of trend happen with between other countries. At the very least, very reduced tariffs, all right? There's no reason for people not to be doing free trade. There really isn't. And the more Trump does that, the more it makes it harder for countries not to follow suit. Because why would you want to enter into an agreement with a country? It's going to cost you an arm and a leg when you could just enter into an agreement with America and it's free. You see where I'm going with that? So look at, given the recent slowdown in trade growth in major economies, Vietnam remains an outlier. The country's import-export turnover crossed the $500 billion in 2019. This comes at the heels of the country's trade benefits that arose from the escalation of the tensions between the U.S. and China in 2019. Now, we talked about this here. We talk about it all the time. One of the countries that benefited, if not the country that benefited the most from the trade war between the U.S. and China, was Vietnam. At the time, the country's GDP expanded by 6.71%, quarter on quarter, heralded by 9.14% growth in the manufacturing exports. To many, this trade diversion was a welcome gain. Unexpected in many ways, however, the Vietnamese policymakers, the gains were not unprecedented. When quizzed about the export outperformance in 2019, the Minister of Trade and Industry pointed towards the National Development Strategy for Sustainable Import and Exports, which was adopted in 2011. The strategy sets a goal of 10% export growth by 2020. Since 2011, the strategy has driven in major reforms in state-owned enterprises. Okay, so here it is. Look at here. Let me scroll down. Let's get to the high points of all this real quick. So this is why I'm telling you, not only invest in the Vietnam dong, that's the short-term benefit. You'll get that. That's going to come here. But I also think that in addition to that, the currency is going to continue and to rise up in increments as well. But Vietnam is definitely the place you want to invest in long term. I told you guys this. If you guys watch my stock watch video, I showed you guys that there's a mutual fund that you should look into. As the data above shows, the major exporting sector, including heavy and light manufacturing, with former now accounting for nearly 50% of the goods leaving Vietnam shores. Further, between 2015 and 18, the EU share of Vietnam's exports has averaged 18.3% and has shown growth in absolute terms. Okay, so for Vietnamese exports, the EU VFTA is a gateway into an $18 trillion market. $18 trillion. The Vietnamese government believes that the move will enable exports to the EU to increase by 42.7% by 2025. I told you, look at the growth potential here. And this is only with one country. This is what's happening with Vietnam and the growth with just one trade agreement. Do you see where I'm going with this? How this is, I told you Vietnam is going to be a long-term hold as well. But look at this right here. This is what I wanted to point out. Given the labor intensity of these sectors, the FTA could also have a net positive effect on the national income for Vietnam. So just like the trade agreement between Canada, Mexico, and the U.S., how it benefited the Mexico people. And let me tell you why. Part of the free trade agreement was any and all vehicle manufacturers or auto manufacturers that stayed in Mexico. The trade agreement said that Mexico had to make sure, at the very least, those employees are getting $16 an hour. Do you know what that does for their standard of living? Making that kind of money in Mexico? Do you know what that does to the economy? Do you know what that does to the peso? This is why I told you guys that the Mexican peso is probably another one of those currencies that you should consider holding. Okay? Now, it's nothing like we talk about when it comes to the Iraqi dinar, but it's still, look, I always say this, 50% of something is better than 0% of nothing. If you have an opportunity to spend $100 on something and you can get back $125, why are you fussing? Now, I know a lot of you guys want to just spend $100 on something and get $100,000 back. Who doesn't? But I'm just being realistic. So, Mexico peso is definitely a currency to consider. So just like what happened between the U.S., Mexico, and Canada, for the Mexican people, that's what they're talking about here. The income levels changing for the Vietnamese people, okay? So you could go through here, and as usual, I'll leave a link to this so you could read for yourself. There are a ton of projects. Look at this. The FDI has targeted sectors such as heavy manufacturing with 180 projects valued at $4.2 billion, and oil gas exploration with 19 projects worth $2.5 billion USDA. All right, so this is what I'm talking about when I tell you guys Vietnam definitely is a long-term investment as well. Go watch my stock watch videos. I show you guys, although I just recently cut them off because the mutual funds I think are something different. Vietnam has their own mutual fund, the VNM. It's a mutual fund. That's long term, man. You can see right here what their plans are. If this type of growth is happening just with EU alone, what's going to happen as they continue to expand from all the other growth opportunities that are coming their way? From what, Pimpy? Well, like I told you, there's a lot of pissed off people at China and people like Japan, the European Union, Spain, Italy, Portugal, United States, a lot of your major, Australia, a lot of your major countries in trade are moving their manufacturing out of China. And one of the locations that they're bringing their work to is in Vietnam. How much longer do you think they'll be able to get away with manipulating the currency? You know as well as I do, not much longer. Okay, now I get to do a little bit of bragging. I told you guys of all the current, yes, again, I understand they're in the red. But look, Ethereum, $241. Yesterday it was like, what, 226? So it's starting to contract just a little bit. But you notice it only does a little bit of contraction. All the other ones, you might see a pretty good drop. But I keep telling you guys, Ethereum is the cryptocurrency to buy into, in my opinion. All right, I'm happy. I own 34 of those bad boys, and I keep adding to it. All right, okay, so a lot of you guys are asking me, Pimpy, where do I go to buy cryptocurrencies? There is a link in the description. Just follow it. But here's the great thing about that link. It'll take you to a website where you can buy or sign up to get cryptocurrencies there. When you're there, it gives you $10 just for signing up. In addition to that, once you're established in the account there, you can scroll down where it says earn free cryptocurrencies. You can earn up to $150 worth of free cryptocurrencies. What I did is I took my earnings and then converted them over to Ethereum. So in other words, you'll earn different types of money for cryptocurrencies. You can get some XRP, some DAO. You know, there's different cryptos offering you free version or free money of their cryptocurrencies just for watching a couple of videos, so you can learn more about them. Then what happens is once you've earned them, you could go up and do what it says: buy, sell, or convert. So go to convert, and what I did is I just took all my other cryptocurrencies and converted them over into Ethereum. All right. No, that's not a lie. Not all 100% is there. I do have some Bitcoin left over. I had about 50,000 XRPs, but I swapped them all over into Ethereum because I know Ethereum is going to make a run. And then sure enough, they are already on a run. Over $240. Man, I'm a happy camper. All right. I told you guys about silver and Ethereum. And look at this morning, I did a video telling you guys that Ethereum and silver were the two things that I love the most. These are the two things that I'm buying into the most at this current moment. And look at almost $18.50 for silver, and XRP, I mean not XRP, Ethereum's over $240. All right, you guys, again, the link is in the description. Don't be shy. Come check it out. See what you guys think. All right, so I can do a little bragging about Ethereum. I told you guys, I've been telling you guys now for months. I've been telling you guys since it was at $174. That's a $70 gain. If you don't believe me, go watch my old stock watch videos. All right, you guys? All right, anyways, I just thought I'd share this news with you because this EU trade agreement's about to kick into, I believe it's in the end of June or middle of July is when the agreement kicks in, which only is going to put a lot more pressure on Vietnam to change their currency. Also, Ethereum is on the run. And think of Vietnam long term. All right, you guys? I'll catch you later.